they'll keep it live, that's right. From Pennsylvania to across the globe, it's time for the Steelers All-Star Show.
Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner and Joe from Ohio. Folks, how are you doing this wonderful Sunday morning?
Jill?
It has been a great weekend for me, so I'm doing wonderful. Cody, how are you this morning?
I am doing just lovely. I am beating myself up a little bit. We did record this show yesterday with our friend Nick Pretzel. He was also here, and unfortunately, the show got deleted. Something happened. It was weird. I don't want to talk about it. So sad that Nick's not able to join us. It does give an opportunity for James to come on the show. James was just traveling back from vacation, obviously, yesterday. He wasn't on the last show, so happy that James is back. But doing good. James, how are you?
Doing well, man. I'm about as tan as I've ever been in my life. Feeling refreshed. Had a little time at Colonial Williamsburg. That was a real neat experience.
Ooh.
And just enjoying the Virginia area and the girlfriend's family. It was a good time off, that's for sure.
There you go. We love to hear that. So we're going to throw this right back like we did yesterday. There's a lot of news to talk about. There's a lot of things to discuss and get our opinions on and talk about. We're going to start with the division rivals first. So number one, Bengals finally did sign Shamar Stewart. He did accept the contract with the new language, which is very interesting. But it is fully guaranteed now. So he has his money. He's happy. It's funny. He's actually came out and said that he's been treated really well by the Bengals this whole time, which is just kind of interesting to hear when you hear Trey Hendrickson's experience to now Shamar Stewart, even though he went back to college to work out a little bit. He says he's been treated well the whole time. So a little interesting. What are your guys' takes on this? And does it affect Trey Hendrickson's possible retention?
I felt like the whole reason they drafted him was to replace Trey Hendrickson because they didn't want to have to pay him. So I believe that does affect Trey in a major way. They'll probably try everything they can to do to get him to play just 1 year. But I wonder if the Bengals didn't concede on this because it did say that this was a fully guaranteed contract, and the original one was not because it was voidable. So I feel like the Bengals kind of stepped back on what they were originally doing with that contract, and that's why Shamar signed it.
Yeah, the voidable aspect of that was if he got in trouble with the league at all, anything. Yeah. And Nick shared this yesterday on the show, so shout out to Nick. Was like basically, if you get a fine or anything that has to do, you could basically get voided your entire contract. If they were unhappy with something else, that would give them a reason to void it, which was just crazy, just really crazy. But it's interesting that some of this new language is still in that contract, which is very strange, but the money's guaranteed. So,
yeah. So I guess if the money really pays, then, if he's getting fully guaranteed, he's like, you know what? I'll do whatever you want. I'm getting my money.
Yep.
And if why not? He can go be a heel off the field just to get out of Cincinnati and still get his money.
Yeah.
Now he can do whatever the hell he wants to off the field. If he really doesn't like what's going on behind doors, you'll know because he'll go out and get himself in trouble, which is not something he's done previously. So this is that slippery slope. Like last week's show, you guys did an awesome job on that, by the way. There was the big topic of holding players accountable. And I agree 100%. Players need to be held accountable for their actions. By the Bengals putting this contract in there that if you get in trouble, we can fire you, that gives them the ability to get rid of bad characters.
Yeah.
So it's like the slippery slope of, is it a good thing to have a contract that the team can just void like that? Or is it something that the player should have some rights, maybe even to a fair trial before assumed as guilty? So it's a slippery slope on that. But I think that just being able to fire them no matter what they do is silly. Because it could be something where they just have some minor incident or maybe even a false accusation, and then they're getting cut from the team. Like what happened with that punter, Ariza, whatever, he was accused of of being involved in a gang rape, and it came out that he wasn't even there.
Yep.
And his name is like, people assume that he's a rapist now.
Trevor Ariza, right?
Trevor Ariza, yeah. Yeah, and if he truly is innocent, that is an awful, awful thing for him to carry on his name.
Yeah. I feel like it's crazy to me in general, and maybe I'm wrong on this, James, maybe you have more knowledge, that players can get in trouble with the law and still get fully guaranteed money or any of their guaranteed money. I think there's a certain level of like, yeah, if you get in trouble at a restaurant or somewhere because you were acting a fool, that's one thing. But if you get in trouble with the law, any other company, business, whatever, if your employee gets arrested or gets in trouble with the law later, like, I don't owe you anything. And that's how it should be. Like, that's how, in my mind, if you get in genuine trouble with the law and it comes out and it's that it was true, there's video evidence, whatever it comes down to, where you're guilty. Why should anyone have to pay someone money when they did something that bad? Speaking of that, Devin Bush was arrested, former Pittsburgh Steelers first-round draft pick.
Yeah, another scumbag.
Yeah, like a misdemeanor for battery, apparently beating up on his woman. We talked about this last week. I'm not going to be on this topic. That's a bad way to put it. But it's just, I mean, come on. That's one of the examples that, like, if you put your hands on a woman, I mean, if it's one thing, I don't support this, but it's one thing if, like, they're getting beat up by the woman and they try to defend themselves and accidentally hurt them. Like, that's one thing, but you better have evidence of that. You better have proof. Which sucks out on the guy's part of, like, some guys have been abused by women in the past and then they try to defend themselves or whatever, accidentally hurt them and they get in trouble. But
then I guess I would argue, which is a little bit bigger than the NFL and everything. But if this was actually ever properly handled correctly and everybody was held accountable, then I would argue that would never be an issue.
Yep.
Like, if men were actually held accountable when they needed to be, then they wouldn't have to fight as hard to prove that they're actually in the right, because it's been abused for forever. So
absolutely. And then girls that are in this situation where if they report it, they have to worry about retaliation. They have to worry about negative side effects at their professional job when they're just a victim. So it's extremely important that us guys with good moral fiber hold those guys accountable. That's the important thing on this. Period. Like, if, to me, the whole thing with, like, NFL players getting in trouble with, like, beating up girlfriends, spouses, random women, whatever, it's absurd that this happens, because you're not just like a normal dude. Like, you're not a 165-pound or 170-pound man walking around who can bench press 150 pounds and do 3 push-ups. You're a professional athlete who is like a 1% of the entire planet strength kind of individual. If a girl swings on you, restrain her. You're 10 times stronger than her. Just restrain her until her ass calms down and run the fuck away. Sorry for my language. Like,
no, you're good.
But realistically, there is no reason you can't restrain 99.9% of women out there until they calm down to where they're not beating on you anymore. If you can't handle one punch from an average woman, you're a professional athlete. I'm sorry, you're not much of a professional athlete. Turn your cheek, calm down, restrain her until the situation can be properly de-accelerated, and get the hell out of there. There's no reason to be punching her back because she punched you. That's insane, man. That's like hitting a child. Like, I think it's the same thing. That's like closed fist punching a child. It's the same kind of cowardice of hitting a woman. It makes me angry.
Yep. We could talk about this all day. And it's a big topic, but you obviously
kudos to the Bengals for trying to put some kind of accountability in. That I will just say, and I'm going to slam it, that, like, look at the difference between the Bengals and the Browns.
Yep.
Here we are with the Browns with how many?
Another one.
Another one, like. And
the Bengals used to have these problems, but let's give them a little credit. Last 5-10 years, you're not hearing about it as much.
Yep.
Right.
Pac-Man Jones. There was another one I can't remember. So, yeah. Fun fact, Jill shared with us yesterday on the show that she actually had the inside track on the Devin Bush arrest. She knew about it before the world knew about it, which is pretty exciting news. We're not going to share how or why, but so that was a fun time. But sticking with the Browns, so middle linebacker Devin Bush arrested for a misdemeanor. Mm-hmm. Middle linebacker Jordan Hicks retires.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this was hey, I'm a veteran, I see how crappy this organization is run, I'm out, or if this was just my body can't do it anymore. I'm very curious if we ever get some kind of insight on why this retirement happened. But crazy timing, and we talked about this yesterday again when we recorded the first time. This leaves Jerome Baker, Mohamed Diabate, and Nathaniel Watson as the remaining 3 guys if you don't include Devin Bush right now. Mm-hmm. They got 3 middle linebackers.
I'm not talking about their rookie draft pick, though. They just drafted a dude like high in the 2nd round or something. So he's going to be a starter for him, that rookie. I forget his name, but he was one of the top prospects at middle linebacker this year. They might have him listed as right outside or left outside.
I'm looking.
But for them, they're a 4-3, so they're all off-ball linebackers. So middle linebacker is the same as an outside linebacker, basically. In their system.
Carson Schwessinger.
Yeah, Schwessinger is going to be the guy there running the defense now.
Okay.
So he's probably going to get thrust into a more big situation. Jerome Baker was a good middle linebacker at one point in his career, but he's old now too.
Yep.
So it's, and with JOK out for the season, that's going to put them, paper thin, like you said, at middle linebacker. You love to see it for a team that's just been overly arrogant the last few years because they won 8 or 9 games and finished 3rd or 4th in the division instead of dead last by 8 games. I think a lot of this has to do probably too with the losses and free agency on the defensive line. Yep. They had that massive nose tackle last year who really was able to keep some guys free. He's gone. And that interior defensive line is thinner now than it was before, which is going to allow those offensive linemen to get to the 2nd level versus the Browns, which is not a great day for a middle linebacker. So if he was getting offensive linemen on him nonstop, I could see him very easily saying this just isn't worth it. But there was rumor coming out of Cleveland that this was a personal matter that he was stepping away from. So,
well, that's not great, but interesting either way. Mm-hmm. Now it's time to transition to talk Steelers. Steelers did sign. We're kind of sticking with division rivals a little bit. We did sign former Baltimore Raven Chuck Clark to a contract. So Chuck Clark is now with us, safety. This kind of raises the question, do they think he's going to fight for a roster spot? Is he just there to push the younger guys? Is he there to get some insight on the Ravens defense? I don't know. He hasn't played for them in 2 years due to an injury, and then last year playing for someone else. I can't remember who it was. But
the Jets.
Yep.
He played for the Jets, yep.
What are your guys' takes on the Chuck Clark signing?
I mean, like I said yesterday, I don't think he's a guarantee for the 53-man roster. So I think it's more of a depth piece, especially like with Ramsey, depending on how we move him. I mean, it still is looking like he's going to be transitioned to a safety. And so I feel like Ramsey potentially like in a nickel could like set up Clark to be more of that depth in a safety like run. But but that's also just speculation. So I don't know. It could be just to push these younger guys to fight for a spot, or just to simply like train them up so that they're a better fit for the piece. But those are my thoughts.
Yep.
So I think personally that this is going to be very serious competition for Juan Thornhill.
Okay.
I think that Thornhill, coming off of a couple of not so good seasons with Cleveland, has a lot to prove that he is reliable enough to be a quality starter. Mm-hmm. From what we've seen in the first couple of days of camp, it looks like the plan is in the base defense. Jalen Ramsey is going to be free safety back there. Mike Tomlin said as much, that he intends on having all 3 of those corners on the field at all times. So that seems to be the plan right now. Then when they go to nickel, Ramsey's going to scoot down into the slot, and then we're going to see another safety come on the field. So the question is, when you're in nickel, is that second safety beside Deshaun Elliott going to be Juan Thornhill, or is it going to be Chuck Clark?
Yeah.
Chuck Clark has a dead even split in his career of free safety and strong safety snaps. He can play both, and they're trying to be versatile, and they're trying to be able to not be predictable on where guys are going to line up. So I think, honestly, Chuck Clark is probably going to win out the starting job between the two. If you had to ask me, that would be my guess, unless he's lost too much in speed where he's just not effective anymore. But he was a 4.54 guy when he came out, so he's not, like, super slow. I wouldn't expect him to be fast, but he's got a lot of experience as a slot corner, too. So you could use him as a big nickel option, too. So we'll see. I think it makes the team more versatile. And I think, unfortunately, for my original 53-man prediction, this is a really bad sign for Sebastian Castro.
Yep. My big thing is when you look at his time with the Browns compared to the Chiefs, he always had a very well-rounded safety opposite of him. I don't think he had that in Cleveland as much. So he had Honey Badger for, I think, the first 3 or 4 years he was in Kansas City, and then the last year was Justin Reed. And also there's the coaching aspect. I think that Juan Thornhill is and you could argue this, that there's this kind of player in every position. He's a scheme fit. And if he doesn't fit the scheme, if he doesn't have someone he can, it's the same thing kind of with Minka. I thought Minka had to play differently when he didn't have good corners or a good safety next to him. And so that kind of put him in positions where he looked bad or made bad plays, but he's trying to make up for other people. I do think Juan Thornhill still is going to edge out Chuck Clark. I wouldn't change my 53-man roster prediction for this. Again, unless, James, you're talking Sebastian Castro getting bumped off. But at what point are you going to invest in these younger guys? And Chuck Clark's 30 years old already. Are we going to keep him as a depth piece like you're discussing? Or is this going to be, hey, come in, learn as much as you can from Chuck, Sebastian, you guys won, whatever, and then, get rid of him at the cut down. So I would be interested. It would be interesting to me to see if he makes the 53. I don't personally see it happening, but very intriguing either way.
Yeah, I think it's just difficult. Like, all of us have a high hopes and high expectations for Sebastian Castro. But realistically, he went undrafted for a reason. So I would love for him to turn into the next awesome starter for Pittsburgh. But realistically, he's probably going to need a couple of years of development before he's to that level where you can count on him to really know exactly where he's supposed to be in a defense that anticipates being a lot more complex than it was as vanilla as it was the last couple of years.
Yeah.
I just hope that they're able to keep him in town to try to develop him while on the practice squad, because I feel like it's kind of inevitable now. I think that with Ramsey being so flexible to be able to play free safety, they're just going to keep one less safety.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That is very fair. Sticking with that secondary group and talking about Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey was rated as number 66 overall in the NFL's top 100. So very interesting there. James, Nick shared this yesterday, talking about how Jalen Ramsey, back when he was drafted, Pittsburgh actually had him listed as the number 1 corner and the number 1 safety on their board. So the idea of him playing safety is not far-fetched. It's not out of the ordinary. It's nothing crazy. And he has that flexibility, so expect us to see that.
Yeah.
But 66 on the top 100 is very well-deserved, I think, for Jalen. Excited for that.
Yeah.
Another Pittsburgh Steeler on the board. So
I love it.
We do. We love it. We're happy to see it. James, do you know who's not number 66 but is number 1 in our hearts?
Oh, no.
TJ Watt?
TJ Watt, too. But our friendly sponsors. Edinburgh.
Friendly sponsors at the Edinburgh Hotel Bar. Support for Steelers by the Lake podcast is provided by the Edinburgh Hotel Bar, serving a variety of lunch and dinner specials every day, including steak, seafood, Italian pasta dishes, and more. They're located at 100 Meadville Street in downtown Edinburgh. Information is available at 814-734-5600. 5103 or online at edinburghhotelbar.com.
Edinburgh Hotel Bar is a lovely sponsor. We love them so much. Pat, the owner there, is a good guy. We're trying to get him on the show, get his opinions about some things. Would love to see that. James, we're moving on to Mike Tomlin. It is one of your favorite topics. Yeah, right. So Mike Tomlin was a big part of the reason, apparently, from reports that TJ Watt got signed. He basically said, hey, pay the guy. Let's get him in the building. Let's move on. You love to see it. I'm happy to see it. There's actually a new, for those of you that have been following the show for a while, James and I discussed a mural that is painted in Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, the town that I currently reside in and am from. There's a new addition onto that. Actually, there's a couple new additions on. There's a Rod Woodson section now. He's working on a Myron Cope section, I think, and there's a new TJ Watt section. And so next week, I'm going to try and get with Nick Pretzel and maybe even James throughout this week to go there and get some pictures taken or whatever. And I'm going to post a challenge next week for our followers to give their best kind of rendition of the TJ Watt celebration that's painted on that wall. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll do mine. It's going to be embarrassing. I don't care. It'll be a fun time. But it's the one, his helmet's off. He's screaming, and it's a really, really good mural. Yep. Yeah,
so, leg in the air, ready.
One leg up.
I wish it's not the one leg up one. I wish it was, but it's still a good one. So very excited for that. But what are our thoughts about this? Kind of expected that Mike Tomlin would kind of take over here.
I mean, I like it. I feel like we go back and forth with Mike Tomlin because, we're constantly like, well, the standard is the standard. What is the standard? We don't actually know. But then, this feels like true Pittsburgh roots. We've talked about, Pittsburgh being family-oriented. When we've talked about, if Connor Hayward going to make the 53-man roster. And, we're leaning more towards yes, just because that is that family dynamic that I feel like Pittsburgh actually translates well on the field. And that's what Mike Tomlin was kind of saying in the interview where he was just or somebody was saying we build that rapport when we're at training camp. That's where it starts because it's just them. It's no one else that's involved. It's just their team. And so they're actually building that family thing. So I feel like Mike Tomlin knows the importance of that, being a coach for how long. And he's like, I understand a dynamic going in, and I don't want that to be a question mark for the team going, what direction are we going if we don't have TJ? So I feel like that speaks when push comes to shove, he steps up and did the thing, or at least spoke out and was like, this is what needs to happen. So.
Yeah. And I feel like this is why he has such a good reputation amongst the players, right? He builds those relationships and then he sticks up for his guys when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Even this whole going after Jalen Ramsey thing has a lot to go back with the pre-draft process when he was coming out of the NFL draft and how much he liked him then. So he became someone that was a target when finally available. But the whole TJ Watt thing, to me, I think a lot of this too, we heard a lot last year about, are they going to start switching sides, him and Alex Highsmith? Well, if you're going to get comfortable with moving somebody around, wouldn't you think you want to practice it a little bit before you start playing regular season games? So because he's there at training camp, they're already starting to do that. They're already talking about, there was a defensive play, one of the first ones, I think, on the first day, where he lined up over top of the guard and then dropped back into coverage instead of rushing the passer. These are the kind of things that confuse the living hell out of opposing quarterbacks because they're so worried about where's he's coming from. All the offensive line's worried about, oh, man, we got to make sure there's extra help for the middle here. And then somebody else is sneaking around the outside because they're not paying attention to it. Now that outside corner is more vulnerable than it would be otherwise. And, let's not forget when TJ was young in the league, when he dropped back into coverage, he either batted the ball down or picked it off a very high percentage of the time. So it's not a bad thing for him to be dropping back in coverage on occasion. He is highly skilled at knowing where to go, reading the quarterback's eyes, and having a feel for where that ball is going to end up. So I think this is a wonderful thing. I think Mike Tomlin had All he had to do is walk into that office and say, do you want him to get back to 20 sacks this season? Okay, pay him.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be able to get him there if you don't get him on the field. And the only way he's going on the field this early is if you pay him. So let's get this done.
Yep.
Yep, we're all here for it. We love TJ. We want him to get paid. He's paid now, and it's exciting to think that I have an NFL jersey where he may be staying with the team. So, speaking of linebackers on the Pittsburgh Steelers did try to trade up in the draft to draft Jack Sawyer. A report came out from Alex Kozora, big-time fan James's of Alex Kozora for the Steelers Depot. Shout out to them. We get a lot of our talking topics from them. They have a lot of inside scoops and share a lot of great details. So shout out to them and Alex Kozora. But Steelers tried to trade up for Jack Sawyer, and then poof, he fell in our laps anyway. So I'm happy. I like seeing that the interest was there. You know, sometimes you wonder, no one ever drafts someone they're not interested. I can't imagine that. But sometimes you get to a point where you draft the best available. And I'm happy to know that wasn't this case. I'm happy to know that they had their eyes on him the whole time. That kind of makes me feel more positive about what they want to do with him, the future with him, and stuff like that. But exciting that we didn't give up any trade capital either last year or this upcoming season. So very, very, very exciting to see him be a Steelers and hopefully have some good draft picks next year.
Amen.
Yeah, I think honestly, Jack Sawyer was like the emergency contingent plan if the crap really hit the fan with TJ.
Yeah.
That was, if things fell apart in negotiations and TJ said, get me out of town, they would have felt a lot better about their situation, knowing on heavy rundowns you can put Sawyer out there over Herbig, and then it's a more rounded group. So it just works out better for Pittsburgh because now you have a really deep group, in my opinion, at outside linebacker, not to mention, like we all talked about with our 53-man roster predictions and going over that position. You start talking outside of that with the Marvin Leal and Jeremiah Moon and Julius Welshoff. Like there's some real depth at that outside linebacker position right now. And it might be real exciting for those guys this preseason. If they go up against a lot of pass plays, we might see a lot of sacks from that group.
Yeah.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see it.
Another
what?
I said another bit about us being excited for preseason.
Listen, I'm so ecstatic. We have football this week. Thursdays, Canton, Ohio Hall of Fame game, so cannot wait. It's here. It's starting. We're very excited. Someone who's not excited right now, Isaac Siamalu did go down with an injury. Now, James, you were called the voice of reason on the show yesterday that you were not a part of because Nick was like, I was very stressed out. I posted in our group chat, and then James Strong, being the voice of reason, calmed me down, saying it's a soft tissue issue. He's coming back from a serious injury. You're going to have this once guys start hitting bodies and moving their bodies in ways they haven't done all season. This kind of stuff happens. It's nothing to get too worried about, but it is unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, would you like to see him out there? Yes. I felt like it wasn't his best season last year, coming off of a pectoral injury early in the year. We talked about it a lot last year that if you do have a pectoral injury, one thing you can't do is really lift weights.
Yep.
And one of the most important things for an offensive lineman is being able to push people away. And that's like almost exclusively pectoral muscles, your pecs and your triceps and shoulders. That does all of that. And that just wasn't 100% for him last year. So is it his pec still? I don't know. I hope not. I hope this is a different issue because if it's the pec again, then you got to worry about will that ever be 100% again. But it's a blessing in disguise for Spencer Anderson because he's running with the first team in a guy who I think this is going into his third year maybe now. If that's the case, he's kind of in that situation is, can you step up? Are you an option to be the starter after Siamalu's contract runs out? Because this season is the last one Siamalu's under contract for. Pittsburgh was expected to move on from him after this season anyway. Now Spencer Anderson's getting all the first team reps. He's going to get to have the chemistry of working with the starters, probably get some preseason snaps with the ones too, maybe even some regular season snaps. This is his audition, and it wasn't even supposed to work out that way. So tremendous opportunity for Spencer Anderson, who I think has the frame and size for the job. and even the strength for the job. You just got to see him put it together with handing off twists and stunts and handling bull rushes and all the important things that a guard needs to be able to do. But physically, I think he can handle the job personally.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Makes me wonder what we're going to do in the draft next year because, people talking about quarterback, offensive line now. We still need to probably address defensive line with Cam Hayward getting older. There's probably an addition we need to make there.
Maybe safety.
The cornerback room is now really old in some areas. So going to be very interesting to see what happens with that. We also talked, even the Justin Fields injury. So like when people start moving around, you're going to have these injuries. Justin Fields injury, I think he should be back in time to play Pittsburgh week 1. Looking forward to that rematch. And I honestly hope he has a semi-decent game. No touchdowns. You can get yards. No touchdowns. Because I am team Justin Fields. I wish he would have got a better shot at doing stuff with Pittsburgh. But it is what it is. Now it's time for something that I'm excited about, especially with James, because James wasn't here for yesterday. James, let's get some input on these new – that's not the right one. These new jerseys, James. Let's get some input on these new jerseys here.
No.
James likes it.
James.
Beautiful. No, I mean, it's definitely not the most attractive thing in the world. Let's be honest. I've seen the team use these combinations before. I think it was about 10 years ago. They used these as a throwback. I like the helmet a little bit better than the rest of it.
Amen. Yes.
Maybe going black pants might have been a better idea than the beige.
Yep.
But I get it. They're trying to stick to exactly what it was before. The big change to me is the size of the numbers. As you're seeing with this picture of Barry Foster, man, was he really good for that 1 year. Still the single season record holder for the Steelers on most rushing yards in a single season, Barry Foster. That you see how small that 29 is in that upper corner. Now it's big and in the middle. So that was an important change to me because at that time, cameras were nowhere near as good as they are now.
Yeah.
And it was difficult to tell who was making a tackle and who was getting a catch and who it was that they just flagged for holding and all that stuff. It was tough. So I'm glad they made the jersey numbers so much larger on the same thing because this is going to be a lot easier to see now. Outside of that, not the greatest jerseys in the world.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, we talked about the Bumblebees. You have the same awkward colored pants, the khaki colored pants.
Yeah.
Just not a fan of that look. Now the Bumblebees were a little different. That's an old style crew right there. But I go ahead.
I'm like, we are just redoing different sports jerseys at this point. Like, I felt like the Bumblebee was like a rugby jersey. The new one is giving soccer. But I do
soccer
agree,
vibes.
I mean, look at it. Like, that was my first thought when I saw the jersey is like, that looks like a soccer jersey. Like,
that's fair.
It looks like soccer. So, but I do like that the numbers are bigger. I wish it was white with the black outline on both sides. Like, I don't like that it's all black on the back. And I literally said the same thing yesterday, James. I like the helmet and I wish the pants were black.
Yep.
It's almost one of those things where like, hey, okay, look at the old one. The old helmets were black. You changed the helmets to yellow. Why not change the pants to black?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you didn't keep it 100% last time. So, yeah, let's have a little bit of creativity with it, but hey. I shared yesterday, James, and I'll share it again. I wish that Pittsburgh would kind of do more all yellow outs and white outs. This picture is a cool example of what it would look like with all yellow or all white for possible alternative uniforms. But again, very, very interesting. I like them in the sense of I have to remind myself it's a throwback. When you think about it being a throwback, it is a nice rendition of the old style uniforms. It has its nod of history, but it's somewhat modern enough with, they did change the helmets. I think the jersey looks a little bit more clean, especially with the numbers. And so I'm not drastically against it. Is it a jersey I'll go out and buy first thing? No. Will I maybe want to have one just to say, hey, I have one. Like I'm cool. Maybe.
Maybe. I don't know. It's up in the air for that aspect of it.
Well, no, because if you buy a jersey, then that athlete
That
will
player's
be traded
gone?
somehow. Like, don't do
Okay,
it.
so hang on. I will buy a jersey like this. Hey, who I'll buy a Rod. No, I won't buy a Rodgers jersey. I'll never buy a Rodgers jersey. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe a no-name guy goes off this year and then gets removed or something. Who knows? But we'll decide that later. But that was the
custom one. How about this, Cody? I'll get you a custom one. It's going to be jersey number 1, and it'll say Tomlin on the back.
Nope. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
Perfect.
Let's talk the meat and potatoes of this show real quick. We've gone for 35 minutes now. Let's talk a little bit training camp stuff. Aaron Rodgers, training camp. He's there. TJ's there. Everyone's there right now. Aaron Rodgers' first pass was an interception. So that is interesting. Yep. PQ, Patrick Queen intercepted it. I shared yesterday, and I'll share again. I feel like it's frustrating because I think it's not a big deal. They're going to work this out, but it's frustrating from the fact that mistake should have happened 3-4 weeks ago in OTAs rather than now in training camp. Like, I wish he would have been there. I wish he would have been getting involved. I wish he would have been around these guys. Maybe it was a timing thing. Maybe it was just a good play on the defense, whatever. I wish it would have been happening earlier. That's my frustration with it. I'm not overthinking it, anything like that. But it's just from my aspect, like, come on, first pass is a pick. Come on, Aaron.
And I think that has me more hopeful. So maybe I'm crazy and but I'm like, dang, our defense immediately quick is ready to read a simple mistake. Like, so that has me hopeful on the defensive side of the ball. Like, all right, we're going to hopefully see a lot of turnovers. And I mean, I'm not necessarily super worried about that because I feel like Aaron Rodgers was trying to at least create some chemistry with the guys. Like, we had talked about how he invited people over so that they're somewhat practicing together. So, I mean, I'd rather see this in training camp than in a game. Work it out now, work the kinks out now. That's the whole reason they're there. So,
James, before you share, I'm going to go devil's advocate here because James will remember that in the past we talked about this. So we talked about how in the regular season, I think it was last year, that we kept running these stupid. No, I don't think it was last year. Anyways, we keep running these stupid plays that we're not getting yards. We're not doing anything. This might have been 2 years ago. And I processed it. I wonder if we run these plays in practice and we look good because our defense is that bad. And that was like a question of our off. And so this is kind of like the reverse question of okay, yes, our defense is looking good. That gets us exciting. But is it because there's that disconnect on offense right now? And so it's such a frustration because your team could look a certain way in training camp. And it could be because the other side of the ball on the same team is not playing a certain way or is playing a certain way. And so I'm trying not to overthink any of it right now. It's so early. I want to see a preseason game. I want to see the play calling. I want to see what we're going to do. But that's kind of like devil's advocate there on that aspect. Like, oh, we made a good play. Well, it's because Aaron sucks right now. He doesn't know what he's doing. So sorry, I'm just trying to James, go ahead.
Jumping off the deep end over there. Said I'm not jumping off the deep end, but
yeah.
Per the usual, he didn't even look to see if there was water in the pool first. But Cody, let's not. I mean, we could easily say the same about day 2, right? First pass of day 2, Aaron Rodgers throws a touchdown to DK Metcalf in the left corner of the field.
Who was guarding him?
I really wish Joey Porter would have been taking that practice more serious, in the off season. He would have definitely stopped that if he was taking it more serious. He definitely wasn't, or he wouldn't have given up this touchdown.
Let's so right.
Overthink this, right? We're overthinking the snot out of this. It is actually, to me, it's a very good thing because the defense is evolving.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why I say that, because they've talked about this a little bit already. The players had some fun talking about it afterwards. Somebody went in motion from the left side to the right side. Aaron Rodgers saw that and called an audible, put some fingers over his helmet. He called an audible because he said, this is man coverage. If somebody's going with the receiver, it's man. It was a disguised, and it was actually a zone, which is why Patrick Queen was able to step in front of that receiver because he was in zone. Ramsey showed a man look, which confused Aaron Rodgers, which is really saying something because Aaron Rodgers is one of those QBs that in history is one of the lowest turnover percentages in like league history among the best quarterbacks to ever do it. He's had so many single interception seasons, like single digit interception seasons, not going 10 or more, that it's kind of crazy.
I think he has the top like 6 or 7 touchdown. Like he just holds them, all of them.
Yeah. He just doesn't turn the ball over. And I think this is just something Pittsburgh didn't do before. And Aaron knew that. Aaron knew that, like, they don't disguise man in zone by – if somebody goes in motion, they're in man, period. Like, if somebody goes with that guy, Pittsburgh's in man. It's just the way it's always been. Aaron knows that, and he made the quick read and now knows that we do disguise that now. So maybe it's an evolution of actually having high-end corners for the first time in 15 years. I don't know. How long's it been since we had corners this good? Never. We've never had corners this good, period. We've had times where we've had guys like Rod Woodson, but whoever's been opposite of Rod Woodson has been nowhere near that good. You've got 2 guys that are starting corners now who have been in Pro Bowls so frequently that they've probably been in them more often than not.
Yeah.
And then Joey Porter Jr., who looks like he's just a few interception or a few penalties less away from being in the Pro Bowl himself. So I think this is a really good sign for the defense. I'm not worried about it with Aaron Rodgers. He's had lots of fantastic throws already in the first few days of practice. So I'm a little bit less concerned about it than Cody, to say it nicely. But I think that's what makes our show fun, is that there's always a good balance between the two of us.
That's what we'll call it. No, it is good, and Jill was very excited yesterday. She's just as excited today that it was PQ getting that pick. So we love to see it.
I love Patty Q.
Yeah, we need him to get pick off Lamar. I'm waiting to see that this year so bad. I'm gonna jump over one thing real quick. We did talk about, Aaron. Let's talk about a play that came out and showed Pat Freiermuth's frustration. Very obvious. I think the big thing here is the play was ran, and the pass went to DK Metcalf at training camp, and Pat Freiermuth very audibly or visually threw up his hands and was frustrated. Is there frustration going on, or is this just a little play, little thing? Share your thoughts real quick.
I don't think, again, I feel like that's a great opportunity to dive into the deep end where there is no water. I think it's just, like, you're going to get frustrated when you're practicing, you're going to get frustrated in a game, right? I don't feel like it's a big thing to be super worried about, especially when they are still trying to figure out how to run with like wide receivers. I'd love to see some more of those like tight ends and figuring out like that offense where we have 3 of them out there, so I feel like it was just like this was a missed opportunity kind of thing. So
James?
The ball was out before Pat Freiermuth even turned around. So my guess is that according to the play, he was probably supposed to be the first option and was irritated because it was already thrown to somebody else before he even turned around. But he doesn't know what the quarterback saw.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, when he turns around, that ball's already in DK's hands. He's frustrated, which tells me he thought it was going to come to him. So he was probably option number 1 on the play. But everybody was away from DK. That was probably the smart throw. And what we don't know is there's somebody in a zone already waiting for Pat where he's headed to the left of where we've got an option of seeing. There could be somebody to the left over there. It looks like they're in a zone to me. Rodgers isn't going to sit and wait for people to get all the way through their routes, and he's not going to force it to somebody if he thinks it's not going to be there.
Yeah.
So it's perfectly fine for Pat to be frustrated, but he's going to go back to the huddle, and Aaron's going to say, hey, here's what I saw. That's why it didn't go to you, and they're going to move right on.
Yeah. I do think he's not going to have an issue with Pat Freiermuth. I do think, however, I'm processing if I was Pat. You have a 10 touchdown rookie season, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. It was like 7 or 10. It was a high number for his rookie year, which was one of the years with Ben. And then you have this kind of mediocre quarterback play since then. Now you get Aaron Rodgers, and that's been the talk all season. Like, okay, and I'm sure behind the scenes they kind of knew he was coming. Some of the players probably knew. And so you're like, okay, maybe I'm finally going to get some good quarterback play and be able to do something. And then boom, Jonnu Smith comes in. And it's like, man, I was going to be the number one target. I was going to have a really good year. And now all of a sudden I'm not. And like, and I'm not saying he's selfish by any means, but I know that if you're in the NFL, you want to put up numbers, like you want to have good games. And so I think the concern here for me, again, I'm not overthinking, but this is the in the back of my head, my thought is, okay, Aaron has spent a lot of time with DK Metcalf and wants to take care of his friend now. He kind of was like this way with Jordy Nelson and some of the guys back in Green Bay. And he has a track record of not playing very well or having some misgruntles moments with younger players. He had the stuff with in New York with Garrett Wilson. Is this a situation where he needs to develop some more chemistry with the tight end group, especially Pat Freiermuth? Or is this just Pat, being a little frustrated that he didn't get a chance to catch a ball? Because it is training camp. There's limited reps. And so you really want to get your work in. And if he's going to DK on half the throws, these other guys aren't getting opportunities to do anything and warm up. So I'm neither here nor there. I'm sure it'll get fixed. But I hope that Aaron is involving these other guys in these drills and in these passes, because I've seen a lot of passes thrown to DK from him. I don't think I've seen, and I'm not saying it hasn't happened, I haven't seen a video or a highlight of him throwing to Pat yet.
I did see one yesterday of him throwing a touchdown to Pat in the right corner of the end zone.
Perfect.
So I think this is probably just a thing that Pat got over with 30 seconds later. And I guarantee once they watch the film the next day, he got over it when it got pointed out on film why the ball was thrown, where the ball was thrown. He had 7 touchdowns his rookie season. He had 7 touchdowns last year. He's got the potential to put up a lot of touchdowns, and I think that Aaron will get the ball to him. But realistically, like, we're 3 days into training camp now. So I certainly hope that he has not let 3 practices, and I think at that stage that was only 2 practices, get him so frustrated that he's already mad about not getting the ball enough. That's some real diva stuff, and I don't think that that's Pat Freiermuth to be that much of a diva. So I think he probably was over it very, very shortly, if not the next play.
I agree. Real quick, going back to the Isaac Seumalo injury, just real quick. If that's a bigger injury, if that turns out to be something bigger, I just want to put this out there that targets that I would have for Pittsburgh, if they went out and potentially got a free agent, you still have Jack Driscoll, an available guard, and Will Hernandez, both guys on the right side of 30 right now. Not by a lot for Will Hernandez, but potential guys that could come in and give you some quality play at the guard position. I just want to put that out there in case it happens. That way I at least said something. And then last thing about training camp, rookies have been shining. This was I got this information from, again, Alex Kozora, Steelers Depot. We talk a lot about Cam Hayward getting his hands up batting balls. Derek Harmon has already batted down a pass from Aaron Rodgers, which is fantastic. We love to see it. We know Keanu Benton's already good at that, getting his hands up and stuff. So this defensive front 3 in our normal base defense or even nickel is going to cause some mayhem. And I'm excited to see it. These guys, all 3, to my knowledge, are capable of getting to the passer in certain situations. Maybe I haven't seen that as much from Keanu, but Derek Harmon, I'm excited to see what he can do, getting his hands up and stuff like that. You also have the running back Caleb Johnson that's been bursting through holes. And now, again, it's hard to get a good read without pads, but the speed's there. The speed and the size is there. He's a little bit smaller than what Najee was, but a little bit bigger than Jalen Warren. So he's a nice little in between there. So excited to see that. And then a lot of these other guys are going to be making impacts on special teams. Jack Sawyer, one of them, as he waits for some potential number one action, probably preseason. I'm sure he'll get it. They probably won't let TJ go out there very much. Just excited to see what these rookies can do. So, input.
Joe, go ahead.
I like it. I think it's really exciting to see Derek Harmon already being successful. I mean, we knew this was going to be good. So it's exciting to just like see that confirmed. You know, we've talked about where it's like, well, this looks good on paper, but will it actually? So that gives me hope that it's actually looking good in practice.
Yep.
So that gives me high hopes for preseason, regular season, all the things. Sawyer had a couple good inside rushes, so that was good to see. We like to see that development. Again, you said with Caleb Johnson, successful runs, like him being able to explode. I love seeing that. There was no, like, Will Howard's had some snaps. There's no splash plays, but he is clean. So he's not dropping snaps. He's not throwing that, like, you know, it's all clean football that he's playing, which I said yesterday, I was like, that gives me a little, very minute, because we all know how I feel about an OSU quarterback. until I see him actually in the game for more than one season, will he gain my full trust? But at least seeing clean football. Because I said yesterday, I'm like, I don't care if I see a splash play if you're inconsistent about it.
Yep.
Like, if you are consistent every time you're on the field, that matters more to me than these splash plays. Like, yes, we love to see a splash play. Like, that makes it fun and engaging. But, like, consistency wins the game. So if you're consistent and clean, which I feel like I've seen that he has been in training camp, that gives me a little bit more like, okay, maybe. But I'm holding my breath until, I mean, even going back to like Justin Fields, I'm like, well, I still don't trust it. But anyway, just notable, I saw Dante Kent knocked a ball out of JJ Galbraith's hands, which is pretty cool to see. So we love seeing that corner action. And then I saw something about Carson Bruner being good with like special teams play. So.
Yeah, I'm excited for Will Howard.
Yeah.
Very excited. It's nice to see him not making mistakes. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mark Caboli's gone as far as saying that he thinks Will Howard is more poised than Kenny Pickett was at the same time. So that's a real nice compliment for a guy that's been watching the Steelers practice for probably 10, 15 years or more. Caboli's been around reporting on this team for a long time.
Yeah.
So that's great news. I'm really excited about this defensive line, especially how drastically younger it is, because there are a few positions on this team. There's been a lot of talk, especially from some folks that are from the Edinburgh area, about how drastically older this team is. There are certain areas of this team that are drastically younger, and the defensive line is one of them, with the ejection of Larry Ogunjobi, the ejection of Montravius Adams, who were subpar or okay at best defensive linemen. This defensive line might be the best starting three that we had since it was Hayward and Tuitt and Hargrave, and that was one formidable group, man. So I'm really optimistic about this. I love hearing all the good things about what Derek Harmon is doing so far. These guys they have the makeup. They have the arm length. They have the burst. They have the ability to get after the quarterback. Even Keanu Benton didn't get a lot of production getting quarterbacks to the ground, but he got a lot of pressure last year. Derek Harmon, as we remember from the pre-draft process, led the entire college football defensive linemen, all defensive linemen with pressures, with 55 of them last year. That's a lot of quarterback pressures for a 330-pound defensive lineman, you know? So I'm really optimistic about what we're going to get out of that defensive line group. And I really think that it's going to be a huge upgrade as far as getting gashed against the run. There were games that we just couldn't stop the run no matter what we did. And I feel like a lot of that started with guys up front just getting pushed around. So you've added some serious youth and some serious size with Harmon and Y.A. Black. And I really think that it's going to show up right away. And I can't wait for that first goal line defense when march these big mamma jammas out there. I mean, we're talking about 330, 340-pound defensive linemen with athleticism, with really plus-side length, and we just haven't had it.
Yeah.
It's been one or the other. Either they've had the athleticism or they've had the length, or even some of them, like Loudermilk, didn't have either one.
Mm-hmm.
Like Loudermilk had the size but no length and really not plus athleticism. These defensive linemen have not been progressing. Pittsburgh's been taking all these shots at these guys, third, fourth, fifth, even some sixth-round guys, and no one's developed. And that's why Cam Hayward's the only man in the room before Benton and Harmon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about this group. I think the defensive line is going to be real fun to watch this preseason. And the cutdown's going to be a difficult decision in that room, man.
Yes.
Cannot wait to see all the things happening. Last bit of information for this show, something that came out after yesterday, so that's kind of good we're recording again. And, of course, Nick was the one that shared this with us, and, of course, he's not here. But the Steelers will be inducting Ben Roethlisberger, Joey Porter Sr., and Marquise Pouncey into their Hall of Honor. And it's actually taking place at a game that I'm going to be at, which is very exciting. The Monday night game in December against the Miami Dolphins. So very, very, very excited about that. Those three guys, phenomenal players. Joey being the villain that he is, the crazy guy on defense that was always causing issues. Even when he was a coach, he was causing issues. If you remember the Bengals game, Marquise Pouncey, the longtime protector of Ben Roethlisberger, and the haymaker, puncher, protector of Mason Rudolph whenever Myles Garrett decided to use a helmet. And then Ben Roethlisberger, two-time Super Bowl champion, future Hall of Famer in 2027. He'll be inducted there. So just real excited to see these guys go in and be honored that way. So super proud of them and excited for that.
Yeah.
This might be the best Hall of Honor group they've ever put together.
Yeah.
This is one heck of a resume. All three of these guys, in my opinion, are Hall of Fame worthy players. So one heck of a group, man.
Yeah.
And just nice to see some of these elite tier dudes getting the recognition they deserve. If you had to guess, all three of these guys would have gotten there eventually, but would you have put them all in the same class? Maybe not. I like that they did it, man. This is just a fantastic group.
Yeah.
Yeah. The announcement actually came on Joey Porter Jr.'s birthday too. So that was, that was exciting. So really happy for them and excited to see that happen. I'd never seen a Hall of Honor induction. So curious to see what that's going to look like. I'm assuming that would be sometime during like halftime or something. They'll do something for that.
Yeah. That'll be halftime.
So Monday Night Football, I will be there with a buddy of mine, Justin from West Virginia. He's coming up for that. But any last thoughts or words before we end the show, you guys? Nothing. Okay.
Nothing. Prayers up to Nick and his family. Hope everything's okay.
Yeah. Not sure what's going on there. So Nick, your thoughts? Our prayers are with you. We're excited to see you back on the show next week, hopefully. And I'll be reaching out to him at some point today, I'm sure. So thank you guys so much for listening or watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe. Ring the bell. It's free. Doesn't cost you a thing. Don't forget the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Make James here very, 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 very happy. And until next time, this is your host, James, Cody, and Jill from Ohio. Signing off.
Peace.
Peace.
Now it's time.